Yeah, me and Copper were talking about that a couple of days ago.
Horseshoe theory's bullshit.
Well, that's the thing, is I disagree.
I think... can disagree, but you're wrong.
But we were just talking about this, weren't we, earlier, where you agreed that tankies...
I don't consider tankies on the left at all.
But they are,
But they are.
No, they're not. They are
they
fundamentally reactionaries in nature. They are not progressives or socialists or anything. What they fundamentally want is just have a different aesthetic. They just want somebody in power, and they believe they're going to be in power. That's all they care about.
Dude, okay, this is the ultimate problem, because when you say, oh no, Stalin and anybody who likes Stalin is not a true leftist, that's a fascist thing, right? And that's all the right. They were right-leaning people. When, like, that is so demonstrably false.
No, wait.
That is a no true Scotsman.
Let him finish, Wordy, let him finish, then
it's
you can
no true Scotsman.
Yeah,
it's the argument, no true Scotsman. Are you hearing me right now? Because I turned off my camera so I could start.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So my point is that the argument is a no true Scotsman. The no true Scotsman thing is like saying no true. Somebody like an English person said, I saw a Scotsman kill somebody else, and he said, and then the Scotsman person to defend Scottish people says, well, no true Scotsman would ever like kill a person, so it couldn't have been a real Scotsman. So this is kind of what you're doing here. It's like basically we're saying like leftists did something wrong, or like
wrong,
whatever. Yeah, and you say, well, they are no true leftists. If they did, Stalin wasn't a true leftist, etc. Because that you're defining it to make leftism be devoid of all wrong. You see what I mean?
Stalin took on the aesthetic of leftism, but he didn't care about leftism. He just wanted power. That's why he fucking killed Trotsky. That's why he did all this shit just to accrue power. He didn't fucking care about installing like a socialist regime. He only cared about the aestheticism.
If that's true, then you must have been really excited that the CIA was so invested in stopping Stalin from expanding his communist experiment across the world, right? And you must be happy that
I hate the CIA on several portions, but I fundamentally agree that it was good to stop Stalin.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, but it still doesn't address the argument. It still doesn't address the argument of whether Stalin or not was a leftist. Now, from what I can see, I think he did. He was a lefty. He started out as an idealistic leftist activist, and I remain convinced that overall he thought he was actually advancing the cause of communism, or whatever, socialism or whatever you want to call it. But definitely a very lefty thing and very much anti-conservative, anti-right wing, anti-capitalist, whatever you want to call it. And it was wrong. My point is you can have a sort of lefty ideology, and which of course it was leftist in many ways, sort of anti market, private enterprise, bourgeois, capitalist, whatever, by implementing a very different economic system.
Everything he did fundamentally refigured the structure of like economic and institutional power. Like
yeah, but
everything
in a very different way.
Just to recreate. No, what the fuck does that even mean? In a different way. What?
It's different in the same way that like the bourgeois elite people are very different from.
Don't say bourgeois. Monarchy. No one cares about that word.
Look, no, okay, or whatever you want to call it. What I mean is that the top capitalists, the top rich capitalists are very different category of people from like the monarchs back in the day, right? And that is why like liberal capitalist economies and systems are very different from monarchic feudal systems, right? You do have people who end up in power, yes, but it's nonetheless a very different sort of power, right? And likewise the Communist Party is the Communist Party officials, all the people who are at the top of the society, it is a very different kind of thing as the people who are at the top in a capitalist society. Okay, they've recreated a hierarchy, yes, but it's a different hierarchy.
Anarchist.
Okay. Wordy, what I need you to do right now, because you're about to explode, and I could tell. I could see by your facial expressions, I could see by your body language that you're about to go off. What I want you to do is I want you to take a deep breath, get a drink of water, calm yourself, and then you can go.
Okay. Yeah. Take a deep breath in and out.
I keep hearing the Welshman speak, and I keep getting more of a righty.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. I'm teasing you, dude. It's just my American brain.
Hey, listen, look, I don't care if you're from America, Japan, or anywhere. At the end of the day, you're a human being with thoughts and processes and feelings, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the problem comes is that when a person says that power was different. It really wasn't. Fundamentally, Stalin versus like the Tsar. In the end, the power was the same. Just because you call yourself like a socialist or you call yourself a representative of the people, if fundamentally you have authority and you have no accountability to the people, and you can instill whatever regimes and policies you want with no accountability and no democratic way of like for people to actually deal with processes. And if you say, oh, well, I'm just going to put myself on a ballot and say it's an election, it's not.
Like Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. What it comes down to is Stalin didn't fucking care. Okay? He didn't care. So basically what it comes down to is when we call a leftist, right? Like the people who take on that aesthetic of leftism, who are like, oh, I call myself a leftist, and they don't do anything to help advance towards like change and improvement of society, they're not a leftist. They don't care. They just care about the aesthetic. They want to look good.
It's this requirement that you have to actually care to be engaged in leftism that I think is weird. It's a weird requirement you're making here, Wordy, because I don't think any other political kind of organization or ideology would use that as a mechanism. You can do intent in a very real way doesn't matter. Intent in a why you are doing the things you are doing doesn't matter. What matters, I think, as Rogue said earlier, is actions and results. And if what you're doing looks like leftism, smells like leftism, and it results in leftism, then you're a leftist, regardless of whether you intend to be or not.
No, wait. I'm saying is the actions.
You think that a leftist cannot be an authoritarian? There's no such thing as a left authoritarian.
Authoritarian leftists are dipshits. They should not really be.
But they exist.
They exist, right?
Potentially.
Okay, so if there can be a left-leaning authoritarian,
if you think you can accomplish leftism through the state, you're a dipshit.
Can I just right? Okay, I need to stop you there right now. All right, that is the perfect example of what I've been trying to get my point across. And I don't mean any disrespect. Okay, everyone here has their opinion. All right, I'm 53 years old. I'm built like a brick shithouse. I'm 6'2", and I've got a small woman who's called my wife, and she's Italian, and she's a crazy woman. I love her. Okay, but that's beside the point.
I feel like I need a book written about your life at this point.
You will get that, and it will be signed directly to you. Anyway,
okay, I'll pay you like 30 euros. How's that go?
32, we've got a deal. No, right.
Deal.
Listen, right. Yes. Yeah, baby. Okay, listen. The reason I'm bringing a little bit of humor into this is because, like, I think it's getting to a point where that comment just now. Okay, that's exactly the whole point why these problems exist. Okay, it's because like we have to learn to accept the fact that talking to someone and their opinion, right, doesn't matter.
Why?
Hear me out, and that can come back to bite us in the ass. You know, fascism didn't just exist, like in the Eastern Bloc or Germany. It also existed in the UK, and it also existed in America way before any of your parents, let alone their parents, were born. All right, and everything that's happened over the last 300 years has only just got worse and worse. But we're not seeing the whole picture. We're just seeing that small picture. Now, here comes the problem. It's all good and fine. We can stand on our little box and go, "Oh, you're a fucking Nazi," or "Oh, you're a freaking Teletubby, and you look like a clown who just got fucking right." But no one's willing to actually like go, "Oh, right, okay, we need to sit down and stop, insulting each other about these names. We need to get to know each other and watch how that person reacts, how that person acts. And if they do something wrong, you deal with that, what they've done wrong." Words caused so many wars in the last couple of 100 years. And if you don't believe me, check the history of the UK.
Wars don't cause words by themselves.
Actual fact, if you look at the history of the last couple of years, not just in America,
you could point out any war, and there's always some underlying factors. Wars may be wars may like reach the breaking point in words, but fundamentally there's an underlying material condition that leads to wars. Imperialism, World War I, World War II.
You've got material. I want your material.
Yeah. That's not about the material, but okay. Let's use an example, right? When the Tsar Wilhelm, whatever the guy's name is, who had a little spiky helmet on his head before the First World War, why was he assassinated by Yugoslavian?
Oh, why was he?
Why
he was assassinated by Serbians?
Right. Okay. And why was there an attempt on Ronald Reagan, on Jimmy Carter, on who else was there? A couple of presidents. There was attempts on there.
Well, it's people usually see like a failing of a system, and they usually want to blame an individual. If I just kill this individual, then they're like going to solve all the issues.
Okay. I'm going to interject here. Wordy, you recognize that happens. So I understand your theory here. I understand the kind of concepts you're putting out. But what I think Rogue is saying, and what I've been saying, is that one of the problems with this need to root out Nazis and to point them out is that people don't operate on a systemic level. They're not designed to think that way. They think at an individual level. So they take these ideas that you're very academic saying in very academic terms, and they apply them individually, and that creates this feedback loop that I think Coppermine Colas was talking about. And it seems to a lot of people on the right that now a lot of people on the left are out to get them, are out to suss out their Nazism. And this causes them to pull back even further, which just reinforces the belief on the left that, they're pulling back. They're not wanting to engage, which makes them go even harder on the let's suss out those Nazis. And it's a cycle. It's a loop, and it's getting worse and worse.
I have to ask a question. If somebody is demonstrably poking in your side, harming you, demonstrably, like they're clearly poking you in the side, harming you, and they keep stabbing you again and again, do you just say, "Hey, bud, how about you stop poking me?" Instead of saying, "Bud, stop"?
If someone, I mean, me as a realist. Fucking hell, I just said the ist word. Me as a realist, okay, if, say, for example, that guy with a blue top on, I don't even know what his name is, he's got a big microphone, looks like something in front of
his name's Sock.
Okay, Sock. Hi, buddy. Peace to you, my friend. Right, if he came up to me and started poking me in the side or pulled a knife out, but by the time he starts pulling that knife out of his pocket, he'll be on his back going, "Call me an ambulance," because, like, that's an action. Like, if you allow someone, pardon my, I do apologize, but I'm a realist. If you allow someone to agitate you, to get under your skin, okay, that's exactly what they want, and that's what spirals out of control. It's how people, they know, oh, right, okay, if we do this, we do that, we do this, they will react. When they react, we can react. It's all about action and reaction. It's all about provocation, whatever you want to call it, right? But I can tell you one thing: if he came up and punched me in the side of the ribs, trust me, his beard would be half cut, because I would turn around and jaw him one. Because the thing is, that's an action with a reaction.
But would you agree that reacting and basically saying, if they're like stabbing you in the side and you punch them in the face because they're stabbing you in the side, instead of just letting them keep stabbing you, you would agree that it's a good thing?
Yeah, because
that's the same tactic that we should employ with Nazis. You
can't. Wow, you are actually taking a physical defensive situation to a belief, like
their stream is too high quality.
I'm sorry, but like, I'm a bad boy now, and I appreciate.
I'm sorry, but ideologies are coming into conflict with each other.
Yeah, but you can't use that as an
example. I've got it to work. The problem is that my computer doesn't allow. Oh, sorry.
I'm using analogies. I'm trying to demonstrate that there are levels where you respond, not necessarily with the same tactics, but you respond in some levels greater than if you just let them keep doing it to you. You have an appropriate response to deter behaviors. That doesn't require violence. It doesn't require physical harm.
I forgot they can hear me.
An appropriate level of response when there is a clear, demonstrable reality that's like in a group of people are undermining our political democracy.
Yeah, I mean, you see, like, with respect, Woody.
Hold on, Wick. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you guys, but I actually have to go. I know I haven't talked because we kind of went down this like rabbit hole.
Sorry, Sock. I wish you had gotten more time.
No, it's fine.
You want to tell everyone before you go? You want to shout yourself out? I'll shout you out in the chat.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually. I just got invited. They had a conservative drop on the Hippy Dippy tonight, so that's where I'm going.
Fun.
Okay, have fun.
You
have
got
fun
it.
Abandoning us.
I love you guys.
As much as I would love to stay around, I have a D&D campaign in like 24 minutes.
I got you.
And Dungeons and Dragons, Apocalypse, World Slowly Drowning.
Fun. And yeah, if you guys want to hear more of Wordy's takes, you can find him at Wordy Talks.
Watch me slowly go insane as people don't understand things.
Hey, Woody, no hard feelings, Ed.
Yeah, I don't have any hard feelings. It's
cool,
it's fine. I deal with this stuff pretty consistently. It's just like my tolerance levels are building slowly.
We'll get you there. We'll inoculate you.
My tolerance levels of people's opinions on reality is slowly building.
Can I just before you go, Woody? Can I just say something? Right, listen, I'm 53. You know, and I've done a shitload in my life. Right, and if you ever get to the point where you're getting frustrated because people don't understand,
you should interject on something.
Right, then it means that like they don't care. And
probably,
like, I mean, I'm dyslexic, right? And like, if you use bigger words, more than 5
I interjected before.
It's like you might as well talk to a brick wall when it comes to me. But
that's fair. I definitely have the problem with overcomplicating my language, which is a failure on my own part. So yeah, I agree. Like, I have problems with that. It's something I'm trying to work on.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that, like, you know, sometimes it's good to take it. It's like, how can I put this? Sometimes it's good to take a step back and look at the whole picture and go, this person may not understand what I'm saying, or like, I mean, I didn't understand some of what you said. Maybe you didn't understand some of what I said.
But see,
you know,
it's not that I didn't understand what you were saying. It's just the ways you were describing how you perceive reality are just incorrect.
I would suggest trying to open yourself up to the possibility that you did misunderstand, right? If you are constantly thinking, maybe I misunderstood, maybe I'm thinking that with our conversation too. Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying. Then maybe I'm going to come away from this personally, like a little better off.
And that's
I mean, that's called anxiety. That's what I deal with every day.
Yeah. Well, sorry to hear about that, mate.
It's fine.
I will say this. Wordy, I always enjoy when you come on. I may disagree with you a lot, but I always have fun when you come around.
I'm just slowly trying to keep your chat from becoming more and more idiots. That's all I'm wanting. It's okay.
I love you, idiots. I love you, idiots.
Okay.
I love you, idiots.
It's okay, idiots. I love you, and I will tell you you're wrong every single day of the week. Okay.
I had the best chat on Twitch. Just letting you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out.
Bye-bye.
If you want to say any last things before I go rogue.
Say again.
I thought you were about to say something, so
yeah, all I can say, and I mean, no disrespect to you or anybody in the chat and all that. I actually, like I said to Copper, I really enjoyed the conversation I had with Copper a couple of days ago. It was actually fantastic. I mean, the amount of topics we covered, and we agreed to disagree and everything else. But the thing is, what you have to I mean, I can turn around and go, hey, you youngsters, I can say that now, right? You youngsters, right? You go to school, you come out very educated, you know, and look at us old fuckers, right? We, you know, you put a piece of wood in front of us, we'll make a round wheel. Hey, because we, you know, when I joined the military, yeah, we use spears and flints. So, but anyway, that's beside the point. What you need
30 years behind, Grandpa.
Ooh, easy, Tiger. Anyway, but the thing is, what you have to remember is that instead of, like, you've got 3 differences. You can educate people from your knowledge, you can dictate to them about your knowledge, or you can show them with education. I didn't know a lot about this fascism, socialism, communism until I started looking into it, because, like, at the end of the day, when I got called a racist, I was like, what? I've got a German daughter. I'm married to an Italian. I am Welsh. I can be as far from racist, and so I turned around to that individual and said, "Hey, I'm not racist. I just hate everyone equally, and you just happen to be the person I hate the most."
So we have to be careful with that. The problem comes is that basically when people say I hate everyone equally, they usually hate other people more. Like
it's equally. I hate myself as well because some of my actions are not really, I mean, sometimes I can overstep the boundaries of like, "Hey, you're a fucking asshole," and I just swore in front of that person. That person could be offended by the swearing instead of the actual, So you have to be so careful these days. It's like walking on eggshells, but at the same time, you have to defend yourself. But you are a very educated guy, and I appreciate what you said tonight. And like, I just wanted to say before you go.
Yeah, this is what I just want to say. Fascism is on the rise. It's a threat, and unless we deal with it, it's going to fuck us over. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's the 21st century, dude, not the 19th century. Today, people can stand up for themselves a little bit better than they could in them days.
Socialist movements didn't just die off in like after the 19th century. So like that's so like probably fascist movements are still probably around too. So
yeah, but I just want you to be. I want you to leave here with a smile on your face and positive thoughts in your head.
Well, I'm going to be playing some D&D, so I have the positive thoughts.
There you go. And
enjoy your game, my friend.
I'll see you later.
I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
All right, take care, bro.
And replacing Wordy, we have a new challenger. Tubi, welcome.
A new
How's
challenger.
it going? Oh, you got the sleeveless cut going on. I like it. I'm here to see it.
I'm about to go to the gym in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys? So the point was.
Okay, we're getting this weird kind of double feedback from your mic, like you have two mics open or something.
Yeah, mute. If you're on Twitch, mute Twitch.
Probably not on Twitch because it's
Are you still getting it?
Not that much.
We can still understand you.
Yeah,
but are you getting the?
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound great, but
Yeah,
I think it's okay for me personally.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second.
The original contention, Doobie, I think Tubi. Sorry, don't want to mix that up. Was that that extremists on both sides kind of radicalize each other, and they kind of feed off of the energy, and they can use that to bolster their ranks, and they can kind of it's a cycle of extremism.
Oh, I've got a question. Oh, when you just said that, I can't remember your name again, guy, dude.
Me?
The one, the smart hairdress, the one, the one with the mustache.
Me. I'm Copper.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Right. Sorry, mate. I didn't recognize your face because I didn't see you before.
No worries. Yeah.
Shit. Wrong.
No worries.
Right. Anyway, one thing I've noticed, it's funny, is that like in America, the far right is now. I don't know if it's true or not, and please educate me on this. In the States, the far left and the far right. Okay, I find it quite interesting that like groups like Antifa and stuff and other groups similar to that, are not considered domestic terrorists, considering their what they do and how they force their lifestyle and everything else on people. And I'm not just talking about right wing; I'm talking about left wing as well. So here's a question: considering that every country has got different rules, different laws, and Human Rights Act, Section 8, is it Section 8? I think it is, right to live and everything else. Why is the government not dealing with this properly instead of allowing it to grow? Like you said, it's growing and growing and growing and growing, and there's a lot of discrimination, there's a lot of racism, there's a lot of there's so much of that negativity going around. Why isn't the system or the government doing anything about it? Do they want a powder keg, or are they looking for an excuse to, bring in what you call martial law, where they've got full control? Because to be honest with you, with the COVID pandemic situation, they richly did have sort of 60-45% power over the movement of people, especially in the UK at one point. Yeah, let's hear your response on that, because I'm quite interested on that now that we've got like a mix of
ideologies. Yeah. So the question is, why is the state not stepping in to try and curb the radicalization cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're trying, honestly, but it's a difficult prospect, as you said, right? Like part of that radicalization is a fear of the government itself, right? If the government comes in and has a strong arm tactic in order to try and reduce that level of extremism, that's going to only make things worse. So that might not be the right tactic. And so if what the real issue is as Wordy was saying at the beginning, there's economic instability, a feeling like people are losing out in the culture somehow, that's a difficult prospect as well, because then you're saying, okay, well, we have to restructure our economy, maybe we need to, what solutions you have in order to implement are difficult and wide ranging. And I think there does need to be some real systemic corrections. And I think part of what is happening right now with the Biden administration, they're trying to address some of those issues, at least in a small way at the moment. So the long term, right, there's got to be a lot of corrective steps, and those people who are getting those benefits, whatever they may be, that are trying to alleviate the tensions that are causing the extremist movements, they have to recognize that they're coming from that place, and they have to be able to say, okay, well, at some point, like, now I feel more confident in my place here in the country and with my, the people who are across the aisle from me. It's a difficult prospect.
Yeah, because the only reason I'm asking that is because, like after the conversation me and you had, I actually started looking into, I went over Wikipedia. I even went into my unit and had a look at some of the historical books and everything about what happened with certain groups. And like in the UK, we've had 177 wars. 77 of them were civil wars. So we've got a history of like not liking each other and wanting to steal each other's milk. Now with you guys, you're quite a young country. You're only 250 something years, 260 years or something. Yeah, so you're a very young country. I mean, and like you've had two civil wars. You had the 1812 and 1861. Is it eight? Was it 1812 civil war? No, right. Anyway, but you had your shit over there. Okay, 1777. I think it was 1776, 1777. You got your independence or something. Is that right?
Yeah, that is the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, a fucking Welshman knows your dates. Right. Anyway, sorry, my bad. Right. So you've had your hands full yourself. But the thing is, one thing I've noticed is that like there's a lot of talk going on. There's a lot of back and forth, like, oh, I know better than you, or my voice sounds like entitlement, so to speak. But no one's actually looking at the bigger picture, because like when all this shit started, like over here, when we had the attacks in France and the attacks in the UK and Brussels and stuff like that, it suddenly stopped. The government went, shit, we did a mistake in the past. Now we're going to sort it out. So they're now working on it 24/7. They're probably even watching this. Hi guys. Right.
They must be very, very a lot of time on their hands that they're checking out this stream for extremism. But
but the thing is, one thing I've noticed in every single country is that in the last year to year and a half, the racism, all that shit is sort of like disappeared, and it's all now based on, you see groups disappearing off the news.
Do you think that the racism has disappeared?
No. Listen, hear me out. All this talk about racism, in all these isms have slowly disappeared off newspaper, fucking breaking news and off the news and shit like that. They've all disappeared. So where the fuck are they? If they've all disappeared off the front page of the newspaper, and we're going on and having a go at each other because we have a difference of opinion, these groups, where are they? What are they doing?
I would fundamentally disagree with that assertion. I do not think that, at least over here at this side of the pond, that racism and extremism has disappeared from our breaking news cycles, has disappeared from our media. I think, in fact, it's the exact opposite. That more and more and more, we have seen them be featured in media reports and in the news cycle, and this is exacerbating the level of radicalization that is occurring in this country on both sides.
Yeah,
That's what I've seen.
Well, I mean, it's like there's groups in. I mean, I'm using my own country for an example.
Okay.
You know, we've got there's a group called the EDL. They've disappeared. Remember, you know, certain people, certain right wing groups have disappeared, even left wing groups, and even little baby groups like little party groups like Antifa and all that, they've disappeared. And the thing is, a friend of mine turned, and I said to him, I said, yeah, I've been looking into that. And he said to me, a friend of mine at work, he turned around and he went, what I find quite strange is that every time the shit hits the fan, these groups disappear for months and months and months, and then suddenly the shit hits the fan, they're in the news for a couple of months, and then they disappear again.
Wait, well, okay, the rest of you, I'm curious in your opinion on this. Do you think that's true? Do you think these groups disappear from the media for long periods of time and then suddenly come up, or do you think? Well, yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, a little bit. I think you could definitely say that it's just the problem maybe with the media, but in general, but it's called right. We call it the news precisely because they focus on new developments, and so it's not just about telling the sort of boring stuff that's just going on in the business as usual fashion. And so obviously, like for a lot of the time, the media won't talk about a particular issue, just a sort of ongoing simmering issue, and then suddenly it just sort of comes to a climax, and then they'll start talking about it. That is true. But that being said, of course, overall, I would definitely would would also say that it's not like overall we're talking less about these issues than before. Quite, I think we've been talking about it for a long time, and it still gets talked about whenever, but usually it's talked about when there's a particular incident. And when there isn't that incident, then it gets forgotten. That is true, and it's just always like that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sort of like sound stupid, even though I wasn't educated. I was educated.
You're fine. Don't worry about it. Just say what speak from your heart.
Yeah, I mean, I just believe that, like, from experience that I've got, like, I'm not going to go into it. Copper, a little bit about my background, but from a point of view from someone in my background, I like, it's brewing. Something's going to happen. You're going to get you're going to get a group of idiots who, don't believe in, got a religious issue, or it's going to happen, and that's what I'm afraid of, because you're going to get these idiots who believe in something that they shouldn't be believing in, because it doesn't solve the issues that we've got at the moment. There's a big bridge that needs to be built between everyone to sort out the fucking communication problem, because everyone likes to say, "Oh, you're a fucking asshole. You did see that," but no one's actually like going, "Do you have proof of that?" But when you've got groups who deliberately go out their way to harm another human being for no reason, just because of their color, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, or their political beliefs, something needs to be done. And that's one thing I've noticed, is that, like, you don't hear the governments actually stepping up and going, right, you guys, that's it, enough. Fill the fucking prison.
I think. Is my mic still doing that thing again?
No, you're good. You're good now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I was just gonna say. Well, to Rogue's earlier question about, why doesn't the U.S. stomp out these like troubling groups? Well, I think it's because it's complicated in the U.S. compared to other countries, because in the U.S., fundamental to the U.S.'s foundation was the idea, right? Because the reason that the U.S. was formed is largely, initially, it's just an exploratory thing by other countries, right? There's a lot of mysticism around, like, especially like California, and trying to find a route from California to the east so you can exploit the east's resources and all that stuff, which is largely, this is mythology. But our understanding of the world was archaic, and our understanding of geography and navigation was not advanced enough. Then, in addition to that, you have this group of people who are largely like debtors and people who owed things to the European governments coming over to the U.S. to try to colonize this land so they could get access to the resources here. And there's this culture of people in Europe experiencing a kind of religious persecution, things like this. So when you come here to the U.S., the people who set up a country in the U.S., this was fundamentally on their mind. The thing that they did not want to establish a state around was a religious kind of government, which promotes things like the kind of persecution of you based off your particular religion, the limitation of your speech, etc. These are fundamental beliefs that are not only expressed in our Constitution, but within the mind of every person. You're taught in the U.S. that these are what make this country great. It's like your freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, the fact that religion is separate from the government, etc. So that freedom of religion and that freedom of speech thing allows for particularly hateful religious groups, particularly extreme political groups to manifest. And then it acts as an impediment when you try to stomp it out, because to stomp out those groups, if they're not committing violent actions or something like that, that is an affront to one of the most fundamental core beliefs of everyone in this country, which is freedom of speech. We believe here in the US that you have the freedom to say hateful things and believe those hateful things and all that stuff. Now, we have certain limitations, like you cannot bar employing somebody based off of any kind of identity characteristic that they have, unless it gets in the way literally of you doing the job. But you can't just say, oh, they're black, I don't want to hire them, or they're whatever. We've had some cases where it's complicated, like there was the baker who did not want to bake a cake for a gay couple, like a gay wedding cake. And so, so there's those kinds of cases which we have to send to the Supreme Court, and they have to try to interpret what the spirit of the law is, what the spirit of the constitutional law is, right? But as a whole, I would say in America, unlike other countries, the extent to which you have freedom of speech here makes it difficult for you to just say, this group has done dangerous things in the past, so we need to stomp them out. Whereas like in somewhere like Canada, right, you can't, if you're like a Nazi, part of like a Nazi party or something, I'm pretty sure Canada doesn't allow you to have like to hold open events or anything like that. Whereas here, as long as you're not hurting anyone or anything like that, you can go out and do that stuff. And in America, at least, we believe, despite the fact that it's wrong, or that we agree with you, or that the cultural milieu has changed such that we don't positively reinforce that kind of rhetoric, you still have the right to do it. So if that group starts committing heinous actions, the response in America, at least, would probably be that that group, unless they're solely dedicated to terrorism and they need to be destroyed in that way, we are probably just going to charge those individual actors of crimes, and then maybe enforce some kind of governmental restrictions on them, so that we can negatively reinforce the continuation of that kind of behavior.
I have a question for you, Tubi, specifically. So you mentioned that in your little spiel there, that as Americans, all of us fundamentally believe in the right to free speech. And 20 years ago, I would have agreed with you. But more and more and more, we are seeing, especially a rise on the left. This has always been the case in the right, I feel. But in the left, we've seen a rise in this idea that censorship is a good thing, that more limitations needed to be put on the First Amendment. So given that that is happening, would you still assert that in America, we fundamentally believe in the right to free speech? Or do you think that that has kind of become out of fashion?
Can I just, before you answer that question, that's a bloody good question, that. But can I just add the fact that people use the freedom of speech in brackets to actually try to get away, circumvent their beliefs, so they can fucking then get it out there because of the freedom of speech, the freedom of what do you call it, freedom of expression,
freedom of religion. So I think I know what you're talking about. How bad actors use the First Amendment as a shield to defend them against critique or consequence.
Yeah.
Which is what it was specifically designed to do. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I would just say that I still think even though like there's some people on the left who are trying to say like, oh, it's dangerous to platform these kind of people. We need to cancel them. We need to all freedom of speech isn't appropriate. We need to have we need to institute these particular restrictions about responsible speech and responsible platforming and all that stuff. To me, I don't really privilege any of that stuff. But to the question of is it being limited? I still don't think it is, because that all those consequences that I see that people get canceled on, that's all socially enforced. And sometimes the business wants to do it, but it's not because they don't think that freedom of speech is important. It's that kind of speech actually will hurt their corporate image, or will hurt them financially. I don't think they care.
There is an argument that has been made, and I've heard it, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. That companies, social media especially, has become a public utility, a public tool, the public square, if you will. There is an argument that if we allow these corporations or these independent business bodies to engage in censorship, that it in a de facto limits people's freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of organizing and assembling and all that. What would you say to that argument?
Well, then I would say that I think the left would agree with me, which is that because whenever somebody they don't like gets canceled on Twitter or censored on Twitter, they're like, well, that's the terms of agreement or the terms of service that you sign into when you make a Twitter account or a Facebook account or whatever. Those are private companies, and if that's what their terms of service state, then I don't see why it's our right to go in and tell them they can't do that. And I don't think those are. I disagree.
We tell companies what they can and can't do all the time, though, right? Like
But within their terms of service, that is specified, and you agree to that, right? When you make a Twitter account, you agree that if you violate their terms of service, then your account gets removed. So if they deem that you violated their terms of service, then your account gets removed. And I disagree that those are the public square. I think that's a designation people are making up in their head. These are private companies, and a lot of people use those platforms to get out ideas. But there's nothing about Twitter that says that it has to be used for political discourse. If you choose to use it that way, that's something you're choosing. That's one particular way that you're choosing to use it. Some people just post pictures of their dogs. Some people just post pictures of family or whatever, just say random stuff on it, like, oh, LOL, I went to the store today or whatever. So I disagree that this is just a public square where this is taking place of like a forum or something like that. No, it's not. I mean, people can choose to use it that way if they want. The point of Facebook is just for you to have a way to interface with your friends. The point of Twitter is just to be able to go on and tweet random things for you and your friends if they choose to follow you.
That may have been the original intent, but I do not think it has evolved beyond that at this point.
I think people just co-opt that stuff beyond what the intent of the founders of the company is. I don't think when people form Twitter or form Facebook, they're like, oh yes, a new political forum for everyone to discuss all this stuff. Like, for instance, Doobie setting up a politics Discord on Discord does not mean that Discord is now, that's part of Discord's purpose. Discord can be used in that way by Doobie, but that's not why Discord, I don't think that's why the founders of Discord. Now, Discord was like, when they founded Discord, like Discord politics, then that would be the whole point of that particular kind of forum. And so if you were saying that you should respect people's freedom to express their political views, then yeah, that's within their terms of service, then yeah, I think that's sacred and you can't violate that. But the company could also decide to change their terms of service because they're a private company and that's what they're allowed to do. So no, I just disagree fundamentally that these are the new forums. I mean, people can use them in that way, but that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, no, these are general platforms that are developed for people to just share any kind of information. It could be political. It could be just what you did that day. It could be like anything. I don't know.
Can I interject on something with factual evidence, if you don't mind? Right. I how do I pronounce your name? Is it Ubi or Tubi or Zubi or?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, brother, no problem. Yeah, fist bump. There you go. Right. I had a friend who left the armed forces, right, and he's got a very, very, very fucking opinion about free speech. He will tell you you're an asshole if he wants to tell you that. And the thing is, he got a job.
I see you got rid of the delete block term Nigeria.
Social media or anything else. Okay, so it's a complete separate entity.
You didn't get rid of the other country though.
He signed a contract and he was doing his job, and he went onto Facebook and he posted something about the Lee Rigby. I've actually met Lee Rigby before he was killed. He put something on there about the individuals who did that. Now he didn't attack him on a racial thing.
I don't know. It seems like a stretch.
To a complete
I know it was sort of just a fun.
And they should.
I agree, Nigeria, no, but the other country, I'm not. I suggested getting rid of the other country. I don't dare talk about the other country.
Now that's not like, oh, we're gonna fucking kill
country
them.
in North.
That was like they should suffer. They should be behind bars for the rest of their life. You know, no freedom. They took someone's life because of their ideology. He got pulled into the office and he lost his job. Okay. And
I was gonna try to add the Discord bot link for people. I may just do it some other time.
Said they have dismissed it.
Okay.
Right,
thanks if you can do that. Yeah.
Like illegally, and they had to take him to court for what they've done. And he went, "What do you mean?" I said, "That's freedom of speech, mate. You can say what you like as long as you're not making threats to kill or threats to harm or anything else." And he went, "Really?" I said, "Yeah. Why do you think these platforms have terms of services? You know, there's certain stuff you can't put up pornography and stuff like that. But if you've got an opinion, you can put your opinion up there. It doesn't mean that you're going to do it." And then he went, "Well, they said to me, he said that like because it sounded like I was this and this and this that," and I was like, "Dude, at the end of the day, freedom of speech went out the window 20 years ago, probably even longer ago, right? Freedom speech is now controlled because of all the crap that's going on. You know, you'll have one culture saying,
wait,
"Oh, we do this,"
I can't do it.
Someone else saying that, someone else saying this. I mean, you can see the cancel culture. You can actually taste it. You like what I'm saying right now. If I had an opinion about someone, and I turn around and I say, "Oh, you're an arsehole," hey Rogue, yeah, you can't really say arsehole live. You can't say that out loud. Why not? That's freedom of speech. That's freedom of expression. I'm saying
only channel owners can add the bot.
All the terms of service.
Unfortunately, I don't know how to do it. Then.
Okay, so basically now we're being controlled by a third party of how we can be. So that means they're changing our personality. For someone to lose their job, or for a company, right, who has no right to interfere in the employees or the employer's private life outside that company, right, is, you know, it's wrong. The only difference is if what they're doing can take the name or can take that company and put them in a bad situation, like a bad reputation, or you know, it could be like, if you say, for example, you take a like Oxfam or NSPCC, which is National Party, social. It's the protection of children. Now, if someone's working for them, and you've got someone in there who's like, "I've never had kids in my life. I hate children," but they are working in a group, right? And then they say that on social media, and they get fired, right? So, to be perfectly honest with you, this freedom of speech, some people think they've got freedom of speech, but to be honest with you, from my experience, and I'm an old fucker, even I'm scared to say things that I want to say. You know, if someone's a fucking idiot, you know, I like to call them an idiot. You know, it's like in the last 10 years, I've become very scared of actually saying what I want to say, because if I said anything, I'd be.
Yeah. That's an interesting point you bring up. Like, I don't know the legality in England, but I know in America that's perfectly legal. Whether it should be legal or not is something we can discuss. But it is perfectly legal for a company to fire someone based on the social media that they have done. It's not illegal. Is it something that they should do? That's a different discussion. What do you think, gang?
So
any
I just maybe like to do. Okay, go ahead.
Exist. So the cancel culture. Sorry about this, but you know, I get a little bit heated on this one, so I apologize now. I am so pissed off about this whole freedom of speech shit now, because and how companies can interfere in your private life, or on, you know, because 25 years ago, before Facebook existed, before all that shit started, right, all you had was like chat rooms. get heated, yeah, baby. Yeah, all these chat rooms, right? You had chat rooms, and before that, right, there was nothing. So in the last 30-something years, this has now come to today where companies can fire you because you don't like puppies.
I mean, companies, but that's always been the case. They just didn't before. They use different
excuses. I think
that's
a simplification. It's not canceling you because you hate puppies. It's canceling you because 10 years ago you said something racist, or 10 years ago you said, I mean, that's like the most egregious examples I can think of. It's like when something happened several years ago when the cultural milieu was much more accepting of a kind of discussing what we would deem today a discussing behavior. But it's not something, it's like, let's not exaggerate. It's not that trivial. Oh, I don't like puppies. Oh, well, my boss likes puppies, so no one can. Now I'm fired. It's not that trivial.
Nathan, you wanted to say something?
Yes,
I want to give you a chance to. Yeah, please.
Thanks. Yeah, well, there's several things that sort of sprang to mind over the course of these discussions here. The first thing I was sort of thinking of is perhaps a contradiction, both in what Rogue is saying and sort of in a different fashion. In it can be a great example to point out one of the ways, for instance, in which the right typically engages in a kind of doublethink. So, Rogue, I'm not sure, and again, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not sure. Perhaps I misunderstood your point of view, but it seems to me that at the one hand, at first you were saying how you thought the government should maybe interfere to limit extremism, but that would precisely require some kind of limitation of freedom of speech. And now, on the other hand, you're also complaining about the fact that the government precisely is intervening, or not the government, but companies of their own accord are intervening precisely to limit people's freedom of speech. And usually it is precisely when it comes to extremism. So I'm not exactly quite sure what your stance overall is on that. Maybe before I forget, also regarding right-wing policies, I think this is the great example regarding freedom of speech, where nowadays suddenly, generally right-wingers are very pro-business, pro-corporation, and if you suggest you should tax them more, etc., they'll complain. But at the same time, if a company actually silences right-wing voices, then suddenly they take the stance of the sort of anti-corporate populist and say that big corporations have too much power. And meanwhile, at the same time, when it comes to, for instance, businesses who basically again exert their sort of individuals who own a business then exert their own freedom of opinion to, for instance, deny baking a cake to a gay couple, then suddenly the right wingers will defend the business's right to not provide a service to somebody. Whereas on the other hand, then they want the government to interfere so that the company is forced to provide a service to somebody when that somebody happens to be a right winger and believe in a right wing conservative ideology. So that is a great example of the inconsistency of a right wing, and so this is exactly the kind of thing you should just point out. You should point out you support the fact that businesses should be free to refuse service to a gay couple, but you don't support the fact that businesses should be free to provide service to deny service to like a right-wing commentator. So this is an inconsistency. So we should really and there's like not much they can say at that point. Like, yes, there is this glaring inconsistency. So I would be interested, Rogue, in already knowing what your sort of stance is overall about that, and also, yeah, if anybody else has anything to say regarding that.
Yeah, I mean, if I can respond to that, about the right wing stuff, right? What I meant in regard to the government addressing the right wing to a point where they actually, put a stamp on them is in regards of like their availability and let me find the wording for it. Fucking hell, I just went into Welsh, German, and English again. All right, is the ability for them to get their hands on weapons. I know that in America, your Second Amendment, is to bear arms. Your Fourth Amendment is I can't remember actually, but the Second Amendment is to bear arms, and I get that. And I'm not gonna take. I respect your guys' constitution, so I'm not gonna get into that. But the fact that the far right and the far left and all these idiots who don't know how to use weapons properly, or they use them for, I don't know, intimidation or whatever. But when you've got groups like, I hate saying the word, neo-Nazis and stuff like that, right? They have, especially in the States, they have access to weapons, and with their ideology and everything else, that's just a powder keg, and that's what I meant. So the government should take responsibility and say, right, yeah, you can't have weapons. You can't have, you can't have weapons. How do I protect myself? I have a right to bear arms. Yeah, well, yeah, you belong to a group, and that's where it comes back into this cancel culture. Because you belong to something, you can't have something, but because you the way you are, you can't have it. So, but there has to be a line you don't cross. If you've got people who, and I mean this with the utmost respect, if you've got people who follow an ideology that existed 100 years ago or 80 years ago, right, that got wiped out and proved to be needing to be wiped out or removed, why are you still following that ideology? You know, at the end of the day, you give someone a grenade without a pin, but then you give them the pin. Do you want to stay in that room? Not me. Right? That's my whole point. The government needs to step in and stop them from probably one of. I'm trying to be.
I understand. I hate to cut things short, but I do have to go soon. So we're gonna let you finish your point, Rogue, and then we're gonna just go around. Everyone can kind of give their closing thoughts on the whole ideas that have been presented here, and we'll wrap it up. And you can shout yourself out, you can plug yourself, all that. But yeah, finish your point, Rogue, and then we'll go around the room.
I'm not really good usually. I'm like looking straight in it. Right. Okay. At the end of the day, groups like the Aryan Brotherhood that you've got over there and people like that need to be restricted because, you know, I mean, they've got their own private shooting ranges, they got weapons, and you can't control them. Yes, there are a lot of illegal guns on the streets, but when you've got groups who publicly actually go, "Hey, look at me," and then they're holding an AR-15, trust me, I know what an AR-15 can do to a person. Right, so the government needs to step up and actually do their job. In regards to the second bit, in regards of the gay couple not getting a cake, now was that from the actual bakery or was that the individual who worked in that bakery? But but that's me done. Guys, I'm Rogue. I'm going to stay and listen and shut up now.
Thanks for coming. We do appreciate the perspective of someone from across the pond. Thank you for.
Like I got hit across the back of the head with a plank.
You're fine. Thank you for being here. We'll let Coppermine Colas have the last word, so we'll go to Nathan L. Sorry.
Okay.
If you want to give your closing thoughts and then tell people where we can find you.
Yeah. All right. Well, just regarding basically the topic of discussion today, I would maybe say that, there's this discussion about extremism, and I would say that, well, one of the things that there's, the issue of the Overton window. So maybe something can be extreme in the eyes of one person might not be extreme in the eyes of somebody else. So what I would suggest instead is not to focus so much on whether the ideology is extreme, but rather if it promotes violence, and of course we should oppose it if it does, and also if it's intellectually dishonest. And we should just try to aim always to achieve intellectual honesty and to think logic, to be aware of are making mistakes. And so yeah, that's basically it. I'm Nathan L. That's also my name on Twitch. So I also do some streaming on Twitch under the same name. So just on politics quite regularly. So that's that. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here, my friend. I think this is the first time we've interacted.
Yes.
I was impressed. You are always welcome.
Thank you.
If you have any ideas, you're welcome to the community. We like to see it. We like to see the energy, and we like to see the well-reasoned arguments. So thank you. Yeah,
great.
I shouted out your Twitch, and go give him a follow. Tubi, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just seems like whenever we try to get into these conversations about when the government should, I would say, overstep its bounds and then limit people's First Amendment rights.
Thanks, Rocket Wayne, for
the language always breaks down because it becomes quite clear that
like it went well.
If you do that, okay, where does that stop? And people try to pretend like, oh, it's obvious that in extreme cases, then we should use it. But of course, what you consider an extreme case is incumbent upon your sensibilities and what you consider extreme or not. And so I'd prefer a system that has a blanket practice of let's not limit people's free speech. They can believe egregious things. they can say pretty much egregious things, except things that are going to promote violence, because obviously people's safety supersedes to a certain extent their ability to just say any hateful thing, especially if it promotes violence. We already, and I guess in America, to me, this issue about like extremist groups, people's protections, etc. To me, this is largely settled. I mean, you can't just say hate speech to people. You can't bar people from employment based off of their identity characteristics. Again, unless it gets in the way of their job, which I think is reasonable, because now they literally can't do the job. People, we have protection set up. Like I'm African, well, I'm mixed race, but I'm African American. Most people know that I'm African American. You can't hang me and get away with it. At one point in history, that was totally legal, and I was literally just property and all that stuff. You can't do any of that stuff. So to me, the biggest issue is curtailing the engagement of these political groups in violent actions, which they're held accountable for. The other stuff about, why do you believe this, or how could you be swayed to find this thing convincing, this idiotic belief system convincing? That's all stuff that needs to happen at a social level. You need to convince people through argumentation, through getting them exposed to people of different backgrounds, etc., which may involve some kind of government intervention, like maybe, like Neo guy hinted at, maybe we should make it easier to move people around. So, or have Prime said, we should have programs where maybe they're obligatory. I don't know how I feel about that, but maybe they're obligatory, and then they get you to go somewhere else and engage in some kind of community effort to help a community out, but also to help a community out that has members that are different than you, so you can get exposed to different kinds of people and curtail your biases. Stuff like that is, I think, the way forward to de-radicalize people, to prevent radicalization, so to be preventative and all that stuff. As far as Twitter and all that stuff being the new public forum that should be nationalized and everyone should have access to it, I think people only view it that way because those services are free and don't cost anything. I think if they cost something, then people would not view that as the case. And just because they're free and people have that illusion in their head that they have an entitlement to it, I disagree. Those are, again, companies set up by individuals, and they're meant to be and no, I don't want to say they're meant to be, but they are private companies right now. And then they have terms of service, and if you violate them, sorry, you get booted. Nobody's forcing you to use that service. I don't believe you're entitled to the use of that service. I think that's silly, and I think they work in the way that the people who are actually presiding over the functioning of that company intended them to work. I don't like this path that we're going down of being like, oh no, we obviously need to use the government to limit people's free speech here. We obviously need to use the government to take away people's rights to defend themselves here. It's not obvious. None of that stuff is obvious. Slavery as a moral indignation was not obvious. We had to have several hundreds of years to come to the conclusion that, actually, you shouldn't own people, and not just us, other countries as well. These things are not obvious. It's not trivial to develop a philosophy that condemns these actions, and now we think it's obvious now because we have this whole history of going through this argumentation. But these things are not obvious. People kill me with that. It's just so obvious that the philosophy of ethics and all that is just so obvious. That is not the case. People are delusional. I don't Twitch stream or anything like that. I'm sadly probably not going to be able to engage with all of you guys that much longer because I'm going to have to go to graduate school, and that's going to take all of my time. It's already starting to take all of my time. I'm getting all these emails about stuff I need to do and all that.
We are glad to have you for the time that you are here.
Yeah. So I do biochemistry. I'm going to start studying cancer biology, and I'm super excited for that. Follow Wick. He's your WASP king. And follow Coppermind Coalesce. He's a good guy too.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for being here, Tubi. Thanks for coming. And we're gonna give Coppermind the last word here.
I'll try and be brief so you can go Wick. But Tubi, congratulations. Good luck with your graduate degree. If I don't see you around too much often. More frequently is what I meant. So I had a couple points that I wanted to say a little bit earlier about the idea of nobody's consistent, right? Republicans aren't consistent. Democrats aren't consistent. Anybody who doesn't hold to a label isn't consistent. We are an inconsistent people, which I think is kind of what you were trying to get across there too, Tubi. It's that it's a difficult thing, right? Like the concept of ethics going down into a philosophical well, right? Nobody's really ultimately consistent in their views. There are certain things that just make us feel icky, certain things that we just like can't really put our finger on why it is that we believe what we believe. And the only way that you can really examine that is to feel like you're in a safe space to be able to talk about those things. And if you can't have that safe space, if you can't find that safe space where it is okay for you to be able to talk about the things that are crazy, right, then you're not going to be swayed away from them necessarily. I'm sure I have a bunch of crazy things rattling around in this head that I'm hoping will come out and get me canceled real hard. I can't believe I haven't been canceled yet. Please do. I'm Coppermind Colos. That's all I'm going to say. And thank you, Wick, for having this conversation.
Thanks
Can I say something very quickly?
Yeah, real quick.
Very quick. I just want to thank you guys for being so hospitable and so friendly, and keep it up. I really do like coming here, and I like how you guys communicate your thoughts and stuff. And
Well, yeah, we're glad to have you.
And good luck, young man, for your endeavors.
Yeah,
thank you all very much.
This is great. We're gonna raid RJCA. He's playing Pokemon Unite, which is a child's game, and I want you to remind him of that. But yeah, thanks for being here, gang. I'm not sure when the next stream is. Either gonna be Saturday or Monday. It depends on what I can get lined up. But I really appreciate all of you for being here. I really appreciate all of you for coming and participating in this discussion. It's very important. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the love. I think I just need $5 more of donations to get my first cash out from this, which is awesome. So I'm really excited, really happy. We're gonna raid RJCA. We're gonna call him a child. We're gonna call him a Canadian because he is, and that's what we're gonna do, gang. So thank you.
All right.
We'll get there in a second. Yeah, thanks. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
LOL rating RJ.
Oh, you know this RJ person? You know RJ? All right. I don't know. I'm not doing that.
I think that's Rajeka from last night.
Oh, is that
cool?
Was that the person I got banned from? Was that the person I got banned from? I got banned from pretty much everyone, so presumably.
I think so. LOL.
Okay. Well, let's see it. Oh wait, here we go. No, I'm not banned. I'm not banned here. All right. I'm gonna actually stop the stream now. I think I've had enough. I've been streaming for like 8 hours at this point. So
He's P cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop this. Thanks for watching anyway. I know I didn't really talk much, but I didn't.
Good stream though, man.
Yeah, thanks.
See you, man.
Thanks.
Later, dude.
See ya.